Hey there, friends. Welcome back to Second Star to the Left. I'm Michelle, and this is my daughter, Billy.
Hi.
And here's where we'll share board game reviews, ramblings, and a few wrong turns along the scenic route. We do not have unlimited space here, believe it or not. We cannot keep every board game that we play. And we should probably address how many we purchase, but that's a video for a later date. Limited space means that we have to cull the collection. We have to say goodbye to some games that we no longer play. Let them find new homes. Send them to the farm where they can run around with the other board games and be happy. Honestly, some games are harder to let go of than others. This video isn't about those games, though. This video is about the 10 games that we would never cull. Pretty much. Almost. Definitely. It isn't our top 10 favorite games. Even if some favorites are on here, some of these we haven't played in a very long while. It's a list of games that we just can't imagine getting rid of from our shelves, maybe for sentimental reasons, or maybe because they're hard to replace. Who knows? We chose 10 games plus,
What do you mean, who knows? You know.
I know. Well, maybe I know. We chose 10 games plus maybe an honorable mention. If it were up to Billy, there would be no games leaving here. Ever. We would build an edition, rent storage, something. But we can't do that. That's just not going to happen. Okay, let's get started. The first game on the list, in no particular order, is Settlers of Catan. This isn't really the game that brought us into the hobby. We were just kind of here already, and we haven't actually played that much Catan, mostly because of player count. You need 3 players, and we're usually 2. I do remember the year that I bought all of Catan for Christmas, and it was the first game that I remember buying expansions for. It is definitely the biggest, most insane Kickstarter that I have ever dealt with. I talked about that fiasco in our Kickstarter video. If you want to hear more details, I'll put it in the link below. But it is enough to know that this is our Catan set now. This, all combined, makes it a part of our gaming history. And while we don't really play it much, I can't imagine our collection without it. The next game on the list is Carcassonne. Another classic that I can't imagine not having in the collection. But this one I would play anytime. There is something about Carcassonne that is always peaceful to me, even if I'm threatening the person I'm playing with or cutting off their cities, and even if there are pigs in cathedrals, but it doesn't matter. It's pastoral and beautiful, and we have spent many hours with this game, so no, it won't ever leave the collection. The next game on our list is The Duke. This is a game that we almost didn't buy. It was being demoed at a convention with another larger skirmish type game. And the person demoing that game either didn't know much about this one or just didn't want to demo it. I'm not sure. Either way, we had to pester them to finally show it to us. The Duke is a 2-person chess-like game that played with 2-sided tiles on a grid. You start with 3 tiles on your side, and on your turn you can either take another tile from your bag or move and flip one of your pieces on the board. Each tile has a different move on each side, so if you move and flip, the next time it will move in a different pattern. Think of the way that chess pieces can move and then, scramble all that up. There's a theme, kind of, but mostly it's just an abstract game. We really enjoy this game, but the real reason that I would never call this one, it's because it's a game that Billy and my dad play whenever they have the chance. It's become a little tradition, one that has been interrupted in the last year or so, but still a tradition. I love that they have this game together, and I love that it's a game that I can share with family. This one stays. Next is one that Billy is going to keep, and this is definitely a Billy pick, and that's D&D 4th edition. Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So why aren't you getting rid of 4th edition?
It was my first real introduction to tabletop RPGs, and even though I never really got to play it, I think we played half a game with a mix of editions rules with Uncle George. But I read that thing cover to cover so many times. I used to bring it into school with me to read it, and it's really what got me hooked on the whole genre in the first place.
So isn't 5th edition better?
I like it a lot better. Mechanically, I like it a lot better, yeah.
But you're just keeping this one because you have a soft spot for it.
Yes.
Okay. I did have to stop Billy from adding an entire bookshelf worth of RPG books, so that's the one that she chose. Next up, we have Dominion, which I have Hinterlands here, but it doesn't really matter, right? Dominion was our first deck builder. I'm sure it was for a lot of people. But Dominion was also one of the first board games that Billy really loved for the theme and the game, and that meant I could get her to play. I don't think the art is anything special. It's good. I know Billy likes it more than me. But deck builders, who knew? And after this game, we went on a quest to find more deck builders. This game started kind of an obsession. These days, there are more options, and honestly, probably options I like better, but I would still play this. I've played a ton of it on the app as well. Have you played it on the app?
Not yet, but I do have it installed.
Okay, well, you should play it. That's what it's for.
Definitely.
Okay. The next one staying is Evolution. Climb it to here. I think this was one of the first games that we bought that was just beautiful in a way that I kind of take for granted now. Also, I don't care how old you are. Do you really outgrow your love of dinosaurs? Building up the traits on your dinosaurs and creatures, trying to keep them fed, feeding your carnivores by devouring the other players' creatures.
Or your own.
Or your own, yeah. For a long time, this was Billy's favorite game. I don't know if it still is.
It still is.
I don't know. Maybe we'll see at the end of the year. Spoilers. We also own Oceans, which is a very similar sequel. I still prefer this one. There's something that works so well in the card management and the resource management. You felt like you were actually creating a species. It's easy enough to teach people who are not yet gamers, but still enough of a puzzle to keep playing over and over. The climate expansion is a must. We also have flight, so giant birds, they can swoop down and pick off the smaller species. This one is never going to go anywhere. The next game on the list is one we both wanted to add, but for different reasons, and that's Hive. Doesn't matter which, the original or Hive Pocket, we have them both, just as long as you have these chunky bug tiles. I wanted to put this on the list because it's another abstract chess-like game that's easy to share with people. And because Hive Pocket is so small and easy to take with you that it is one of my absolute favorite travel games. Each bug has its one programmed way that it moves, just like a chess piece, but creepier and crawlier. So you're trying to surround your opponent's queen to win. You need to be thinking 3 or 4 moves ahead at all times, and even then, sometimes those bugs just sneak up on you. Billy chose this game for a different reason, though.
I win every time!
She's mean. We're going to keep it either way, but eventually I'm going to win. Up next, we have an old one for us, and that's Alien Frontiers. I think that some of these games that we don't want to part with are attached to memories of our first conventions. The first time we realized that people were as crazy as we were, and our first conventions were video game conventions that happened to have some board games. So it always felt like you'd found a buried treasure when you came across something new. We bought Alien Frontiers for the very shallow reason that it looked cool. The space theme has that futuristic 1960s vibe going on, and it had those little colony domes. Turns out it's also a fun game. I had no idea what dice placement was when we bought this game. Not a clue. This game is an area control game with dice placement and card drafting that has you competing for resources on moons to colonize a planet before your opponent. It might be one of our earliest worker placement games, I'd have to think about that. Sometimes it's okay to judge a book, or in this case, a game, by its cover. Worked out pretty well for us. This game still holds up, too. I would play this game with anyone else who wants to get hooked by this theme and give it a try. There was a time when this was one of only, like a dozen or so games in our collection, so it's always going to have a home here. This game is the newest on this list, and you have heard me talk about this game a million times if you watched any other videos, and that's Monstrosity. I have the Robots expansion. I mean, you need to keep a good party game, and this is a good party game. It's a drawing game that doesn't require you to be good at drawing, and it doesn't put anyone else on the spot. If you have people who get uncomfortable being in the spotlight, this one's great. If you are giving the clues, people are so intent on what they're drawing that you never really feel that much pressure, and most importantly, it never fails to make people laugh. In this game, you're a witness to a crime that was committed by a monster, or now even a robot. You get to look at a picture of that monster for 20 seconds, and then, without checking again, you have 2 minutes to describe the monster to the rest of the players while they do their best impression of a sketch artist. The art's quirky and fun and intentionally hard to describe, and the result are the funniest monsters you have ever seen. I have a few drawing party games in the collection. Fake Artist Goes to New York and Telestrations. I love those, and I would happily play them, but this one wins. And now in this expansion, there's variations on how to play. You can have the artist draw for a minute and then pass the drawings around for someone else to complete, much the same way that Fake Artist has you adding to someone else's drawing, and then you vote on which drawing is the best once the drawings have gotten all the way around the table. We haven't even tried that version yet. We've been so happily playing the regular standard version. Try this one, you won't be sorry. I know I said that this wasn't a list of favorites, but some of them have been, and this one used to be my favorite game, and that is Isle of Skye. I usually describe this game as what would happen if Biblios and Carcassonne had a baby. That might mean nothing to a lot of people, but it takes that shifting scoring goals of Biblios or even cartographers and adds in a tile placement game that reminds me a lot of Carcassonne. But you don't randomly draw your tiles, you bid on them in a blind bid against other players. I've played this at 2, at 3, at 4. It works at all counts. I've probably played more of this game than most games on my shelves. You're competing clans trying to raise sheep, cattle, transport whiskey, and you're managing your money and tiles and trying to keep your opponents from getting the tiles they need. Love this game. It's not a new game anymore, but if you haven't ever tried it and any of this sounds good to you, then you should definitely pick it up and give it a try. So that's 10. I said 10, right? You know, I have an honorable mention. It's kind of a board game. I mean, there's a board and it is a good game. And that's Crokinole. Oh. I would never part with our Crokinole board. Jim made it and painted it for me, and it hangs on the dining room wall. It comes out whenever we have picnics or parties. Sometimes it just sits on the dining room table, and we sneak in a game whenever we walk by. It's one of the only games that everyone I know will try. I can't even imagine trying to replace this board. Couldn't do it. It's a simple dexterity game with simple rules. Flick the disc, get it in the center ring, or hit your opponent's piece if they're on the board. Keep one cheek on the chair at all times. That's in the rules. Look it up. But it's hard to get good at it. And if you play one game, you'll want to play more games. And more. And more. And more. And maybe you'll practice when no one's around. Who knows? We would never get rid of the only game that some family members ever request to play. Those are the games that are never leaving our collection. Are there games that you would never part with? Are they your favorites, or were they gifts? Is there a sentimental reason that you don't want to part with them?
All of them.
Not all of them. Let us know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you like what you see,
or if you want to keep watching until we get one right,
please like, subscribe, and share. As always, open tables, open minds, and play yourselves. Okay.
Do you want the 4th edition D&D book?
Are you gonna kick all the cameras over to get it?
Yeah.
You can go get it if you cannot kick
No,
stuff
I
over.
can't. So
I can put up a picture. You're gonna have to talk about it.
You can go get it.
I'm not gonna go get it.
What?
It's your book. I would get rid of it.